Big round one coming, Tom. Big round one. Big round one. Welcome to 12 Rows Back, where we bring you footy from the fans' perspective. 24 hours out from round one, game one, grand final rematch, Wednesday night at the Triple MCG. You excited, Tom?
Good to hear. I am absolutely pumped, mate. And it is fantastic to see you in the flesh, Seb. We now can say viewers. Legit. I've been saying it as a gag for the past 2 years. Now we legit may have viewers. So it's good to be expanding the podcast, getting technological and moving into a video platform, Seb. It's all happening in 2022 on 12 Rows Back.
It's absolutely fantastic. And for those of you who are watching, obviously we're on YouTube. We'd love you to like and comment and subscribe. The audio will still come out, so if we're doing some funny things you're hearing but not seeing, that's what it is. And YouTube's a global platform, so our loyal listener in Ghana will be able to start watching us, and we welcome him.
That's what we're about. Send in a mailbag if you do get us on YouTube. But I'm pumped, Seb. It's all about that game in 24 hours, like you said. We're into it. 2022 is upon us. I'm super pumped. I can't wait. I can feed it on a slightly personal level, feed some good news into the fans out there. Having a baby in July. So Beck's pregnant, which is amazing news. Bub on the way. New Saints member on the way. It's exciting news. It's a great time, and I'm excited to share the happy news with the fans out there, and looking forward to what that brings.
That's fantastic, Tom. That's exciting. Welcome to the club. You'll now know what we're talking about when we don't get any sleep. And if you've been married 12 months, so you probably already know most of the time you can't do anything right. Now you definitely can't do anything right, and that's just life. But no, it's great. We'll have to get some 12 Rows Back baby clothing line coming winter 2022.
Expand the merch. No, look, I'm pumped for it, mate. July, bring it on. Can't
wait. So, ladder predictions today. We're going to walk through the ladder. We're going to break it up a little bit differently by going. We've sort of got some five different tiers. It was 5 or 6, and we'll go through that in a little bit. So we've got our predictions. We'll give you our prediction for Premiers. There's a little mailbag question to wrap it all off, but we're going to very quickly dive into a little bit of news.
Can't resist that.
Team selection stuff. It's been a big talking point. So. It's been raced to be first from the journos as to which random ex-retired player has been sounded out by a former club to come back on their COVID top-up list. It's a bit of a farce. It's sort of showing how there is just no news out there at the moment. It's not going to have an impact on the season, and I say that knowing that West Coast actually might need them for round one. They are that short. Tim Kelly and Liam Ryan now tested positive and out of Sunday's game where they're hosting the Suns. They might use some of these top-up players, but when I say it's not going to have an impact on the season, it's not affecting West Coast finals chances. They're cooked now anyway. So
straight off the top. It's good to hear.
Not going to affect anything there. It might be a good feel-good story. I'm still hoping the Roos throw Boomer into the mix for theirs so he can just add to those games.
That's the story. That's the story there.
It's a bit of a no-brainer for me. If I'm a club, I'm doing it to sell merchandise and do things like that. I'm not worried about if we have to bring all the 10 random players in, how well they're going to go that week. We're probably in trouble. There's a reason they're not on lists. So
that's a good actual.
Try and get some positivity out of it. And the other, couple of good news stories with team selection. Sam Doherty will line up on Thursday night for the Blues against the Tigers after battling cancer twice. He sort of was in remission, came back. Tore it up in that VFL practice game, and that's just one of those good footy stories that it doesn't matter who you support. You're proud to call yourself a footy fan when that happens. This might sting you a little bit, Tom, but Paddy McCartan looks set to be named for a Sydney Swans debut. Former pick one of the Saints, the famous Petrarca draft, I believe.
Yep, thanks for bringing that one up off the top.
Well, that's his resume. His resume is pick one for the Saints. Petrarca picked 2, and he's had concussion issues and hasn't been able to fulfill his potential.
Yeah, well, look, we spoke off air, but the Saints are no stranger to seeing players leave our club and win flags and turn the next level. Just I've just got the fingers are always crossed with Paddy. You just don't want him to cop a hit. Now you did see him play down back in a pracky, so hopefully seeing the game come to him in that way will probably help his footy and hopefully the concussions. I'm happy for him to have a great season as long as he doesn't come back to haunt the Saints too much. But no, I can't pot him. I thought his career was over. And he's found his way back. The Swans just find a way to get that kind of job done. But yeah, I mean, the concussion, though, it's still a worry for me. So it's a strange one, I think, that one.
It is. He went up there to train with them last year, and I think the ultimate goal was what's happened now, but no one sort of expected it. But he's just put his head down. He's worked hard. Hopefully the concussion issues are not around, but we know so little about it. How can you go from having so many at St Kilda to playing for Sydney and having none, or having it not be as much of a risk? It's just been time out of the game, would be my understanding, and he's still at risk if he gets a head knock. But as a defender, you're playing a little bit differently. You're seeing the ball come to you rather than having to go out and get the ball as a forward. So, great for him. Obviously, I know the Saints fans won't hold any ill will towards him at all. It will be playing with his brother down there, so down back they're sort of going to work off each other quite well. And
Twin Towers sort of style.
Interesting if he lines up against Max King when the Saints play the Swans, because obviously Max is what everyone hoped Paddy was going to be when he was drafted, and it didn't turn out that way for a number of reasons. But if he lined up against him, you'd really want to get the chocolates in that as Saints fans. But that's well down the track. With his concussion things, it's a week-by-week prospect, I imagine. So hopefully he gets out there and has a few kicks and goes all right.
Yeah, well, you've stumbled on a good angle, I reckon, here, Seb. But just off the top, what's the game you're looking forward to most in this round one? We have got some absolute belters. I'll take my hat off to the AFL for the scheduling. There's good games on a daily basis. What's jumping out at you?
Well, look, as a footy fan, about 8 of them jump out. The Sunday 7:10, I think, is the Suns Eagles, and that does not jump out. Sorry. I'd love to watch my boys Freo take on Adelaide on Sunday. We've got North, obviously. That's a big deal in my world.
Yeah, might cool down by Sunday, I think.
You've got the Farmers game, Geelong and Essendon at the G. We'll learn a lot. We like to say we learn a lot every week, but some, and wait and see where we have the Bombers in our ladders, but some think they're going to be able to take on finals and sort of be a player in the top half of that 8, and this is a good test. Some think the Cats have fallen off a perch. You won't know after one game, but it's one of those games where whichever way it goes, it's a real positive sign for that club. Saints Pies will be a good match. Hopefully the Saints get the job done because they're at a better place with their list, and I think they will, but that's still... You still got to turn up and win, and that's the tough thing. Carlton-Richmond looks like it's finally a game worthwhile of being played on a Thursday night. But the best game of the round's Wednesday night. Grand final rematch.
Season opener.
I don't know how you... the Battle of the Bridge is in there too. Sorry. Don't forget the
could
two
be
Sydney teams.
Buddy's 1,000th.
1,000th? I was going to say 5,000th again.
Yeah.
It's a fourth wall joke.
Yeah.
No, but mine's Wednesday night. The D's and Dogs. Battle of the Song. Don't use my song. What is it?
Freed from Desire. It's actually...
Desire. It doesn't strike a chord with me, Tom.
Well, yeah. It fits better in the round ball game. I think the Poms developed it. I think it actually came out of Leicester. Vardy's on fire instead of Freed from Desire for those that know their EPL. But it's just a song you smash out drunk at a pub. So, I mean, I have seen a certain journalist with a Brown surname go with that as a story, but it's about the on-field and it's about them playing in a granny that makes a rivalry. But anyway, let's move on from that one. But
yeah, well, my fascinating thing, outside of it being a grand final rematch and the Dogs have got something to play for and the D's are unfurling their flag, which, the D's have finally won a flag, but it wasn't at the G. Luke, it was reported last night on the couch that Lockie Hunter was to be dropped. And this was Tom Morris, who's normally got pretty good mail, whether you...
Yeah.
I'm not his biggest fan, but his mail's generally pretty good. And if he goes with it on the couch, you think he's nailed it. So that means he's heard it and he's fact-checked at least once, possibly twice. And Bevo's come out and he's bristled a little bit, Bevo. He doesn't like that. And he's sort of said,
as he does.
Well, we haven't made that decision. We'll put our teams out. And he's been named on a wing tonight, Tom. So the footy fan, just in general, probably sort of has the view that Bevo's just, well, you've said I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Get stuffed. I'm going to play him. The cynic in me says Bevo sort of said, there's a leak somewhere here. Stuff's getting out. Probably this freed from desire stuff may have gotten out when it shouldn't have. Who knows what else is coming out. I'm going to spread this rumour and see where it comes out and try and plug the leak. And I'm 100% convinced that's what's happened now. I love it.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I think that's exactly what's happened here. There's just news that's just drifted out of the club. And you know, we've lauded Bevo for his team first attitude and the way he goes about it, but he does strike me as the kind of bloke you wouldn't want to cross. So this kind of stuff, I think, does get under his skin. I know he's remonstrated with various journos in the past when it comes to attacking the boys. So
didn't he run through Damo at a Brownlow one year or something like that?
Yeah, I think there was
cornered him in the
some
toilets and just went
arm up sort of style. Yeah, what wasn't pretty, but I think that was to do with the Talia inside information. But anyway, Inner Sanctum is untouchable to him. So look, I'm not even thinking a conspiracy. I think this is just a legit theory on Bevo.
Yeah, I think it is. I hope it is. It's good to see some fire. And it's good to see some interesting things happen, not just the standard party line from the coaches and everything else. So I'm very excited for that game. Is there one that's tickled your fancy?
Look, 8 or 9 of them. I reckon I'm changing on the daily. If you asked me yesterday, I reckon I would have said Blues Tigers, which is a stunning turn for me, given I think that game should not be the first game of the year. Glad to see it's not. But I've changed today. I'm just thinking that Bombers-Cats game is an absolute ripper. It's a real chance for the Bombers to make a statement. Like, if they're the top 4 team that I keep hearing from my Essendon sources and Stringer's the next coming of Gary Ablett, this is the kind of game they just win. If they're making up the numbers this year and are going to be in that, we'll get to it later, the Rangers, if they're going to be in the top 8, this is the kind of game they have to win. Round 1, statement, Geelong, we always pot them for being old, and I'm the front of the line for that. But, they've still got a heap of talent. They're not going to be a pushover. So that one is going to be an absolute cracker. And, I don't want to say season on the line, but geez, I think we'll learn plenty from that one, as we like to say, Seb.
My word, we will. And we didn't even mention, and this is, I guess we're a Vic-centric podcast, but 2 top 4 sides are playing off in Brisbane.
Yeah,
Brisbane
exactly.
And, and that's
the 04 granny replay.
That's not going to, both teams should be all right off the back of it, whether they win or lose, but you'd rather be 1-0 than 0-1, Tom.
Yeah, well, as crazy as it sounds, in a long, and it's a marathon, it's a 22-week or 22-game season. You don't want to find yourself sort of 0-1, then 0-2, 0-3. Teams tend not to win flags from those positions. Yes, it's happened, but they are historically rare. So you want to get the wins in the bank early, and you'd rather be sitting on top with other teams chasing you than trying to peg back to get back to evens and then bounce from there. It takes a lot of energy, so it's huge, the start of the season for every club.
My word,
absolutely.
It is. We're going through team by team. Let's jump into it. What are our rankings? What are our tiers that we've got?
Yeah, so look, we thought about this a bit over the journey. We could go through each team and give you a range. Happy to do that offline, but we thought we were looking at the ladders and sort of bouncing between. The comp sort of seems to even itself out into what we like to say are 5 pretty distinct categories. So the first one is the flag contenders. Second are those that are finals bound. There's a category, actually, the race for the 8. So they're teams we probably think might at best make the 8, but they're making up the numbers if they get to the finals. There's a category no team wants to be in. We could call it the Carlton category, but I'm going to call it the no man's land category. They might just be out of that this year. And then we've tossed and turned. I want to call this one the cellar dwellers. You want to call it the rebuilders. But basically, your bottom four lower table group is the final category. So
with low expectation as well.
Okay, throw that one in there for Roos and Hawks fans. Flag contending, finals bound, race for the 8, no man's land, and the cause for optimism, cellar dweller, rebuilding bottom tier. We'll go through them. So let's test this grouping out. Where have you got the Crows?
Rebuilding, Tom, or cellar dwelling if you like.
Whatever
makes you feel better.
I mean, we could even break these down even further. I mean, there's cause for optimism, and then there's genuine cellar dwelling. I think in this one, it's a bottom 2 finish. I think for the Crows this year, they're definitely knocking on the bottom of the cellar in my book. So they are more than at home in this category. You're just a real young team. We've said it many times. They floated off the form of Tex, who was in career best last year. Won 3 of their first 4. He was going to kick 100, people were saying, and they didn't really fire a shot since. So he's obviously dealing with his own issues on and off field. I don't think we're going to see him in round 1. I'm not really bullish on them at all, the Crows, Seb. So, yeah, they're definitely in that category.
Nah, plenty of work to do at Adelaide, but I don't have too much positive to say about the Crows.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, we can move on. Brisbane Lions, where have you put them in the categories?
Yeah, I've got them as finals bound.
Ooh, finals bound.
They're right on the cusp of being contenders. Talk to me on a different night this week, and I could have said contenders. I just have them as good enough. I think there's a mental issue there. Until they get over that, I don't believe they can win the flag.
Yeah, whack.
Like look, top 4 finish, yes, but win the flag, no.
Yeah, there it is. No, look, I've got them flag contending. I think they've got the right ingredients. If they can get something out of Cam Rayner coming back from that knee, and if they get Eric Hipwood in any kind of straight kicking form come the back half of the year, they're going to have a forward line that'll scare all teams in the comp. We know that their midfield bats deep, and they're pretty solid in defence with big Harris Andrews. So, look, I think, it is the mental issue. I mean, how often do you see straight set exits? And they've had 2 of them recently. So that's a mental hurdle, and that kind of thing's hard to shake, as is their goal kicking. So
they have fixed up their breathing though. That was a big deal over the off-season, Tom. So maybe that helps them.
Yeah, look, if it helps them kick straight, I think that they've got to look on the goal kicking side. But I'm happy to keep them in that contending category.
All right. The Blues. It's an interesting one. So this is probably the first time in a long time we might not have them in no man's land, because I feel like that's been, as you said, the Carlton zone. How do you see their year playing out?
Yeah, look, they've climbed out of no man's land, which you'll be happy to hear, Blues fans out there. I'm putting them smack bang in that race for the 8 category. So their best is good enough to play in September. I think Vossi is going to add that hard edge that they've lacked. We've how many games have we seen them sort of lose 3, 4, 5 goals? They're in it, but they just don't have that edge. I'm hoping Vossi, for Carlton fans' sake, can add that. They're definitely in the mix on their day. I mean, you sort of look at all the key positions, and they've got talent in all of those. When you look at sort of Wiedering, Walsh, Mackay, if Curnow can come back in any sort of form, look out. So, yeah, the Cripps is reborn, apparently. So they're ticking a lot of boxes, but they do tend to tick them a lot at this time of the year, Seb. So the proof will be in the season, but I think they're in that mix for the 8.
Yeah, you'd have to leave them there till they prove it, but I think by the end of the year they'll be finals bound. I'm leaving them in the race for the 8 slot because we have done the ladder and have had to try and get 13 teams into 8, so there's a chance they miss it. It's not quite their time, but this is the first time in a while a coach has come in with the expectation that you play finals for a team that missed out on finals. Quite often the coaches are getting sacked because the teams are miles off it, but we think Carlton are right there. Vossi's come in. One thing they have for them now is they won't be mentally beaten, whereas it felt like Carlton of old, not to blame him, but under the Mark Murphy leadership were sort of downhill skiers at times.
I knew that was coming.
And that won't be the case under Vossi. I think they're in the race for the 8, but they're at the upper part of that, and they should be expecting finals.
Could you see them coming top 4?
Yep.
Bang, there it is. There's an audio clip. Write that one down. 12 rows back, fans. Seb says it. Carlton top 4. I've walked you into that one. But look, they're absolute best. So they'd have to get another Coleman and Coleman out of Mackay and Brownlow out of Walsh to go top 4. But the funny thing, if they get on a roll, they're the kind of team that could, what do you need for top 4 these days? Probably 15 wins, maybe 14, 15 wins.
Yeah, I think 15 should get you around the mark. We had 5 teams last year that were effectively top 4. The Dogs were out on percentage. Remember that game where... Was it the Dogs playing the Eagles or the Lions playing the Eagles?
The Lions playing the Eagles.
Every goal that was kicked was changing it by 0.7%. And, that was the difference. So 15.5 gets you in, pretty much.
Yep.
But that's... it's a big year for Carlton, again. Yeah. We know they're coming. We smell what they're cooking. Lots of catchphrases there.
Yep. Every year where I reckon we get bullish on them. Let's probably head down to the opposite part of the table. You've got the Collingwood Football Club. What category would you like to put them in, Seb?
I'm glad you said Seb, because if you ask Nathan Buckley, they're contending for the 8, and that was a farcical comment from the ex-champion, ex-coach of the club. They're rebuilding. They'll be bottom 4, no doubt about it in my mind. They've got some talent on the list. Grundy's a good player. Darcy Moore. You've got DeGoey, who, if you can put it together, plays really well. But I think we're at the point now where we've said that for too many years. He is what he is, an inconsistent player. Has a lot of ability, but if he ever gets to put it all together for 4 or 5 seasons, I'll be very, very surprised. There's enough talent there, but their bottom end talent isn't good enough. And, first year coach Craig McRae, he'll be given some leeway to try a few things, and there'll be no pressure on them to sort of shoot up the ladder. Pendlebury's another year older, but they're bottom 4 for me.
Yeah, can't argue with you there, Seb. That was a succinct take, and they're cellar dwellers. They're rebuilding, call it what you want. I was half tempted to put them in no man's land because I just think this season's a write-off. They're going to trot out the line. It's about process and not wins.
Yeah.
Which you could almost write, that's no man's land kind of statement. But they won't venture out of the bottom 4, but it's about finding those sparks and building those players for the future.
I got the Dacos brothers to watch. That's one thing I'll be looking forward to. They're sort of northern rivals down at Tullamarine, the Bombers. Interesting, the Bombers finished 11-11 at the end of the home and away season, snuck into the 8. Didn't have their best day against the Dogs, which they're not the first team to have a sneak into the 8th spot and have a poor showing. Where do you see them lying? Where do their fortunes land?
Yeah, I'm bouncing. I've got to say, you've got to be good to beat the Dogs in a final. They're jumping the line between the race for the 8 and the finals bound. I can't quite feel comfortable saying that they're fine. When I say finals bound, I'm like, you're 90% making finals. I can't say that about the Bombers. Yes, their best is good enough to finish top 4, so that probably lands them in that finals bound category. But as we've seen, there's a logjam in the middle of the table, and if they get caught or they lose a couple of players and have tough years, you've got the young guns coming through. Your Cox, Perkins, Jones, Reed. Facing potential second-year blues, perhaps. Darcy Parish is going to be hunted absolutely every week. He had a breakthrough year last year. How's he going to cope with the best tagger of each team week in, week out? We've talked about it many a time, Seb, the forward line. I think they're going to need a almost Coleman medal-esque season from Peter Wright to sort of allay our fears that we've got for them in the forward line. So, look, if I've got to put them in one, I'm going to put them in the race for the 8 category.
Yeah, that's fair. I've got them finals bound. I'm super confident they're playing finals. I have plenty of queries over where the goals are coming from, as in their top 3 goal scorers were Stringer, Hooker and Tip and Woody, and Hooker's gone. Tip and Woody's not going to be there for the start of the year, but they still managed to find a way to score goals last year, so they might actually... We tend to romanticise with the key forwards, and we're always looking for the key forward, and, my club was criticised for not drafting a key forward at certain times, but the way they were able to manufacture goals last year sort of says to me that they are able to find a way to kick them, and that shouldn't be as much of an issue as I might be thinking at this point of the year. And I think they've got a good coach in Rutten, and they've got enough to build on from last year that they will be playing finals this year.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's a rare bit of positivity for the Bombers, but I like it. Look, let's keep it moving and head across the country to your boys in purple, Freo.
You would leave them as finals bound, but I'm pretty confident they're playing finals. Sorry, you have them in race for the 8, but I'm pretty confident they're playing finals. I love what they've done. They don't have a long injury list at this point of the year. I'm very bullish on the Dockers.
Look, I was knowing what I've heard you say about the Dockers. I am surprised you didn't sneak them in the finals bound. I mean, I know they're another team you could picture coming top 4 at best. Look, I've got them in the race for the 8. I think, they're in that log jam. Obviously, the query is how does the midfield go without Chera? How does I guess the travel impact the young group? But geez, there's some excitement there, and there is some serious talent when you sort of think of the Brayshaws and the young, and I mean they're old blokes coming back. Does Fife go to the next level? Could he be a triple Brownlow medalist? Mundy's going around for another game. Even Walters might come back this year and get back into some form. So they've got Big Sean Darcy in the ruck, and if they can get great years out of Pearce and Griffin Logue down back, and I'm probably missing another one down there, Seb, in their back line, but maybe Joel Hamling didn't see a whole lot of game time. I mean, they get those guys back, and if they can turn Optus Stadium into some sort of fortress, I could easily see them winning 12-13, which is a safe spot in the 8. So, they're in the race, but I'm with you being bullish on them, Seb. They're ticking boxes.
Yeah, there's a few teams that are in that zone, aren't they?
Well, it's jam-packed, I reckon, in this race for the 8. Moving along down the highway.
Your favourites, the Geelong Football Club. They are fresh off another preliminary final, disappointing into the season again. Where are you ranking them? Surely contenders.
Look, they're knocking on the contender door. I've got them finals bound. I'm just maybe it's my bias towards this football club, but I don't think I've seen anything in the off season that says they've added a piece that takes them to that next level. Yes, some might say Jeremy Cameron having a full preseason and being in Coleman medal form, but this time of the year, you want to be able to say, yep, this group of kids has added another preseason. But for the Cats, it's this old core we've got has added another preseason. Doesn't scream confidence for me. They'll use their GMHBA home ground advantage to full effect and probably win a couple more than where they're at, and that'll get them into the finals. So I'm happy to put them in finals bound, but not quite contending, Seb.
Yeah, I thought you might have considered No Man's Land. I really did.
I was tempted, but I want to keep our Geelong listeners, so I won't go too hard.
Because you could argue they might play finals, but they're in No Man's Land, so it's an interesting spot they're in.
It is.
I've still got them contending because there's enough class down there. There's 2 key forwards that are in the top sort of 3 or 4 in the game. Hopefully Dangerfield gets a good run at it with his body. Selwood's on his last legs, but will still lead them over hot coals if he had to. And there's enough class and experience to get them through. Tom Stewart down back. I think Jack Henry will go to another level this year. So I've still got them contending, but I think they're behind some of the other clubs that are contending for that premiership.
Yeah, look, that's fair. Look, we don't have to. We have found that there is a fair Gold Coast contingent based on some of the Twitter work I've seen from you, Seb. So that
I
we do
found
have a
some
few
on
fans
Twitter
out
that
there.
didn't like me suggesting Ben King stayed for a truckload of money, and I don't think I'll ever be proven wrong on that because it would take that to stay down there at that football club. More power to you. We can rank the Suns. We can put them in a category. I considered having a separate category called the Gold Coast Suns because they're just that much of a rabble. Sorry to any Gold Coast listeners, but yeah, look, they're in no man's land because they're not rebuilding because Stewie Jew's got to go hell for leather to keep his job. And even if he gets them, he could get them into the 8. And if Clarkson comes and says, oh, yeah, wouldn't mind this job, he's gone. So, no man's land for me. Ben King signed on. Great sign, but he signed on for another 2 years, which means they might come to the Suns in 12 months' time and go, yep, he's got 1 year left. You might want to trade him now to get something for him than have him walk. So it doesn't mean a whole lot the way the AFL treats its contracts. So I think I've spoken enough on the Suns for this year at this point.
I'm with you, Seb.
It's a
Happy to
whole
put
year.
them in no man's land. It's a category basically built for them, so they can squeeze in there nice and easily. The GWS Giants, an expansion team that have got it right, made a granny, showed some good signs. Where are you putting them this year?
They're in the race for the 8. You wouldn't surprise you to have them playing finals. It wouldn't surprise you to see them miss out on finals. They do a lot right, but it might be the fact they play in Sydney, which is obviously not a traditional Aussie rules state, and they don't get no one's sort of building a case for them to play finals that we sort of maybe not forget about them, but don't have them at forefront of our minds. But I think Toby Green's going to miss too much time for them to play finals, and they're going to just miss out while still being in the hunt for most of the year.
Yeah, well, look, I've got to be honest. I'm bullish on them. I didn't quite have them in flag contending, but I do think they're finals bound. I'm basing this off. Yes, they will miss Green, and there's no doubt about that. Probably cost them a semi last year, but I think they can cover it. They've got those guns that we know in Caniglio, Kelly, Haynes, Whitfield. But they've really drafted well of late, and they've got some real great talent coming through. I'm thinking of the Tom Greens and Taylor Brune, I think, up there. And, like we said, Himmelberg is an option. Hogan's probably got another good preseason under him from what I've seen. So I think there's real cause for optimism. I think if they can just get finally that run of no injuries that we've never seen from them, they're always riddled. I think we can really see them go to the next level. Big Braden Pruce in the ruck. That'll be a great sight. I'm bullish on them, Seb. They're finals bound.
Yep, I think that's a very fair assessment, Tom. Are we looking at is Hawthorn next alphabetically? I was always a maths guy at school.
Yeah, no, you were. I saw you at full flight. We can head back down to the rebuild category or cellar dwellers.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with calling them cellar dwellers. I think it's apt for this one. Yes,
I really think cellar dwellers is harsh, and not because I think spoilers, North Melbourne are probably going to be in this category, but that implies like you're perennially on the bottom of the ladder, and you have been for some time. And none of these clubs, except for the Suns, really have been.
Yeah, look,
it depends how long.
Probably
this
fair.
might be North and Adelaide's third year with like a top 4 pick in a row. But we're not talking like Melbourne with 15 back-to-back like top 5 picks and, the Blues for a stretch and, That's why I think it's harsh.
Nah, look,
but we can keep
it
going
is
with
harsh.
cellar dwellers for the.
Do we want to call them cellar visitors then to make you feel a little bit more comfortable?
Well, I just think rebuilding's a more apt term, Tom.
Yeah, all right. Then we'll go with rebuilding. I know you. It's great that we've changed the term to rebuilding before we've reached the Kangaroos, but look, the Hawks are in there. Don't worry about that. They're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll be happy to see James Sicily trot out there this year, but looking around, you do look at the midfield. Mitchell, O'Meara, Warple. Now a gun kid. He will be a gun. Josh Ward. All cut from the same cloth, makes them a little bit one-paced. Don't worry, they've got some talent up forward in Bruce and Gunston and Jarman Impey, I think if he can get out there, can provide a bit of X factor. Wingard, obviously, we know he can provide X factor, but look, in saying that, I don't think they're going to win maybe more than 6 or 7 games, and that just puts them in that category. So that I'm happy to put the Hawks in there.
Yep, no arguments there. They're rebuilding. Sorry. It just rolls off the tongue. I like it.
It does.
Now.
It sounds good. It's nice to say.
The Demons.
Yep.
They're contending. They're still contending.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the window. Motivation might be one of their issues. And if they need to continue to avoid injuries, which some say you don't have much control of, but they didn't have any last year, and it made sure they had a fit sort of 25 or 6 to pick from for that game. So contending for me, Tom.
Yep, absolutely contending for me as well, Seb. Yep, I'm with you as well on the motivation. That will be a factor. Were they a team that won the flag on talent, or were they a team that won it on system? I tend to think that they won it on talent rather than system. No offense to Simon Goodwin, and we've seen him have a shocking off-season. But they've got all the pieces on every line. It's just, yeah, I mean, you would hope, given the many, many years. I mean, yeah, we could call the cellar dweller category the Melbourne category. I mean, they were bottom of the ladder for a decade. Yes, I'm sinking the boots in while they're on the top, but you'd want to see multiple flags if you're a D's fan, and you're entitled to the way your list is. It's just whether the man up top can get the players to perform this year.
Jeez, we have reversed roles on this, Tom.
I'm actually enjoying sinking the boots into Goody. I should have joined you a couple of years ago, Seb.
Nah, it's good fun. Just wait for them to lose 3 in a row. I'll start calling through his head.
Exactly.
The north of Melbourne, in North Melbourne, we are obviously rebuilding. There's no two ways about it. There is a stack of talent on this list that needs another 2 or 3 pre-seasons before we start flourishing. An optimistic Roos fan will tell you we are pushing for the 8, but...
Can you introduce me to him? Is he in this video right now?
No. I'm still. I know we're rebuilding. I'm just here for the ride to watch some of this talent. We've drafted a future Brownlow medalist. We might have a first-time All-Australian this year in Taron Thomas. Will Phillips is going to miss the first part of the year with glandular fever. I could go on and on and on and on about these kids that are guns, Tom, and I won't. I think we're in agreement here. We are North Melbourne are rebuilding.
Yep, more than happy to say that. As your team name says, North, that's the only place for you to go after finishing rock bottom last year. And yeah, I'm with you. You've got some talent there. It's, you've probably got enough in the list to maybe, 6, 7 games, maybe more. Won't quite climb out of that bottom 4, but that's not really what it's about for you this year. So, yep, you're in the rebuilding category, but it's better than being in no man's land. So you can take that. And, yep, if that optimistic Roos fan is happy to just send us a mailbag, we will read it out because I'd love to hear from you. And if you're a Roos fan that listens to this show, just pull over your car and send us a mailbag. We will read it out. Trust me on that.
My word, we will. Port Adelaide played off in a couple of prelims. They are looking like they've got the list that can challenge again. Where do you sit them?
Oh, geez, I tell you, I'm tempted to put them in the old race for the 8 category, to be honest.
That's where I've got them.
Yeah. I just think, I potted Geelong for their age, but yeah, I'm really thinking the power of the window's shut on them. They really, we've spoken a lot about that incident in 2020, the deliberate out of bounds that cost them a prelim. Last year they came in with a home prelim and got absolutely smacked. They have been smacked in a final, and it's taken them years to recover. Have a look at post 07. There's queries there. They've got talent. Don't worry about that. Wines as a Brownlow medalist. I mean, Boak and Dixon, another year older. Hamish Hartlett, I think he's still going around. So,
Retired.
Oh, he did retire. There you go. But you can be excited by Butters, Dersma, Rosie. There's a real mix, but I'm just picturing a situation where, they drop a couple in, say, May, June, middle of the year, and the heat just comes on, Kenny. And once that media latches on and the heat, it infiltrates the club, and I can just see it happening. So, they're in the race for the 8. I can't quite say they're finals bound, Seb.
Yeah, I can see them playing finals, but at the same time, I'm putting them in the race for the 8 because The pressure's on. Last time they had a real poor finals loss, I'm thinking back in 2007, it took them a while to recover. They're not a mentally strong club, and like to me, they go as Charlie Dixon goes, and he's just against the good sides he struggles, and I think teams are going to see them as weaker and more gettable this year, and they're not going to have as good a year. So for me, race for the 8.
Yeah, there you go. Power fans, send your thoughts in. The Richmond Football Club, Seb. So we know they had their struggles in 2021, but it's a new season. Have they refreshed? Have they recovered from a season where they were ravaged by injury? We didn't see it in the 4 seasons prior to that, but we did last year. So where are you placing them now?
I've got them race for the 8 as well. To be perfectly honest, it wouldn't surprise me if they finished top 4 and made a run of it with some health, but they're getting on. I think their style of game is really hard to hold up and play long years. Like they've played in 3 finals, 4 years in a row, and then obviously dropped off last year. I think it's tough to hold that up for another year. So I'm thinking they're going to be fighting for the 8 around the mark, but there was a real chink in the armour last year. And, I remember Sydney beat them at the G, I think about round 2 or 3, and it was like, oh, Richmond are really gettable. A lot of players are another year older. I don't know if they'll hold up as well, so race for the 8.
Yeah, look, that's fair. I was tempted to put them in finals bound because you might find them in my 8 later on, but that's sort of a best case scenario. I mean, it'll be good to see Lynch kicking goals, Prestia playing more minutes not more minutes, just more games. He didn't play enough. Dusty back to full health, but then Jack Riordan another year older. Grimes is starting to have a few issues. It's that's Koch another year. Again, I might be going on a limb here, Seb, and potting, the older blokes that have been there, done that. But that's how the clubs work. Your older blokes get older, and you've got to bring the next wave through. We saw bits and pieces of it last year, and it wasn't finals quality. So, like we say, if there's a healthy bill at the Tigers, then they'll make a run of it. But it really depends on that. So, I think race for the 8's fair.
Yep. Moving across a team you've probably been dying to talk about now, the St Kilda Saints. Where do you have them?
We may or may not be primed for some no man's landing, but I'm not going to do that to us. I mean, it is probably fair to consider that category, given that, yes, our best is more than good enough to play finals footy, but our worst is knocking on that cell. Yeah, no, look, I think it is, Seb. We do have talent on each line. Maybe not as high quality as some of those flag contending teams. It's the depth that's the question for me. So I mentioned with Richmond a clean bill of health. The Saints need that too. If 1 or 2 go down in really any position on the ground, then we're really struggling to bring in the next soldier. That old Clarkson, 1 soldier in, 1 soldier out. We can't quite pull that off with the list as it is. So, look, I'm not going to put us in no man's land. I'm going to put us in race for the 8. Jack Steele is Brownlow medal quality. He might go to that next level. Max King, I think, has got Coleman in him. He might go to that next level. Do we get improvement out of, a down year from Butler? Can we get something from Higgins? We've drafted a player in the top 10, Wanganeen Malira. There's a name to remember, Seb. Hopefully he gets some games. But yeah, look, it's all depending on whether or not our depth's tested. So if it's not, you'll find us in the finals. But if not, then yep, we might be in no man's land. So I'll put us in race for the 8.
Yep. So it's a fair assessment. It's obviously an honest assessment from the heart. I can tell that, Tom. I know how much you love your beloved Saints. I've got you in no man's land because I don't see a scenario where you play a final. I'm not saying that just for the fun of it. I just
you did enjoy it a little bit, but
that's where I see it. I call it as I see it. The drums will come beating for your senior coach, rightly or wrongly. But yeah, look, you're too reliant on some who are too injury prone. The Gresh Prince will be a good one to have back. I'm going to enjoy saying that this year.
Yep.
Max King's kicking straight. He might win enough off his own boot to get you around the 8, but I don't quite see it happening. So no man's land, unfortunately for me, Tom.
No, I'll cop that and move on to Sydney. So amazing year from them last year. I don't think any of us saw that coming from them. They went from that rebuilding category, Seb, to finals bound. Pretty stiff. You talk about the Lions, making that top four. Well, the Swans did win 15 games last year. Yes, they were probably about 10 or 15% off that top four, but they were level on games, which is just shows that final should really sting. They really should have beaten the Giants in that one. But I'm tossing and turning with them between finals bound and race for the 8. It's just a question of whether or not they can string it together, given that they probably will be more hunted this year. Teams have had a year to work out how they've played, what they've done. They're used to the corridor. Horse is a smart coach, and he'll obviously into a younger group. There's enough talent there to make finals, but queries too. So I'm going to put them in race for the 8, the Swannies.
Yeah, I've got them as playing finals bound for me. They're going to be in it. They're not quite at the class of the top. They could potentially go into the contending category if some of those players do take a step, but I just can't put them in there for mine yet. But expect them to win 13, 14, 15 games somewhere in that region, which is enough to say for certain you're going to be playing finals, but in the bottom half of the 8.
That's more than fair. We'll head back across the country as we do to the West Coast Eagles. So I'm more than happy to sink the boots in with you, Seb, about their pre-season. It's been borderline disastrous. I've got to take my hat off to Adam Simpson, who has somehow remained his usual stoic self in the face of this onslaught. I mean, yeah, the fact that we're making jokes of them needing the COVID list just shows how much they've been ripped to shreds. Not only have they just had those niggly injuries with their players, but now COVID's hit them as well. It just keeps on keeping on. They've obviously gone over that cliff and are now just drifting down. So you've got to put them in no man's land, don't you?
Yep. They're there they're in no man's land. Their list profile's not great. Look, a lot of what's happened in the off-season's been out of their control. Injuries, you can't really control. It's not like they're forcing them to go bungee jumping and they're all hurting themselves doing that. Like, you get injured training at intensity, and you have to train at intensity to get ready for a season. You can't control Jack Darling's stance on the vaccine. That's his choice. You respect the choice. Whether or not you agree with it, you still respect it. And it's just unfortunate because it feels like their season's done before it gets started, which you don't want. But they're a powerful club over there, so I wouldn't be too concerned with how they'll bounce back. But it may take some time because they're not going to win too many. They might get some players back and win some in the back half of the year, but in terms of finals, they'll be cooked. So no man's land for me. Last but not least, the reigning grand finalists, 5th to 2nd, outside the top 4, but made a run at it. The Dogs, contending for me, as simple as that. They've got a little bit of extra motivation. They've got winners on all fronts. Probably need a key defender down back. The loss of Josh Bruce will hurt, but they've got the Bont they can throw forward. They get lots of goals out of their mid, so I'm not concerned about goals per se. And plenty of players hunt the footy and get lots of it. They like to play sort of a keepings off. So they're contending for mine, and it'll be fantastic to watch them tomorrow night.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, Seb. Nice way to finish agreeing on something here, but yeah, they're definitely contending. They've got all the pieces. I mean, their midfield's the envy of the comp. The Bont might just be one of the best players of the comp. If he's not fighting with Petrarca for that role, he's definitely in a conversation amongst the top 5. So,
he was the best player halfway through the third quarter of that grand final. He was the best player in the comp. And then the Dogs went to sleep, and Petrarca's had 39 and 2. So,
yeah. So look, yeah. So I mean, that's just adds fuel to the fire of tomorrow night. Yeah, maybe even throw in that stupid off-field stuff. But look, the Dogs have got it all. Their midfield bat's deep. They'll find goals up forward. I'm interested to see Cody Waitman. He's a new Ballantyne, Milne most hated forward in the comp for some reason. He is playing that role to perfection.
Yeah.
Look out for him to go to the next level. You know, I'm interested to see what they do with Big Timmy English because from the outside looking in, I don't even know if they trust their own ruckman, but you'd think he's been in the gym all season, all pre-season, and might come out as a different unit. I did, just as a tangent, Seb, did see big Sammy Draper coming out of Hawker Hall the other night. He is a man mountain, so that's what he'll be up against English. So hopefully he's added some bulk to the frame. We know he can take a grab and kick a goal. And I reckon Norton's also ready to contend for a Coleman. So it's beautiful down there for if you're a Doggies fan.
Which certainly is, Tom. So we've given you our tier rankings. Let's go through ladder, position by position. It's obviously a lot tougher because you can only have 8 teams in the 8. Someone's got to be 9th and 10th. You can only have one team winning the wooden spoon as much as you might like to pot 3 or 4 clubs. You know, it's great to have Collingwood and Hawthorn at the bottom, but you can't finish equal bottom. There's tiebreakers, there's percentages, all these other things going into it. So we'll start from the bottom. We'll go 6 teams each, building up to our top 8, top 6, and then we'll give a few awards predictions. So do you want to kick us off, Tom?
Yep, I'm happy to go with it, Seb. I think Adelaide will win the spoon, so I've got them 18th, Collingwood 17th, Hawthorn 16th, North 15th, Suns 14th, and the Eagles 13th.
Yep, so I've got the exact same 6 teams, slightly different order. The Hawks will win the spoon, no doubt about it. They lack talent. I could go on all day, I think. Suns 17th, Collingwood 16th, North will finish 15th percentage, Adelaide 13th. West Coast 14th and Adelaide 13th.
Jeez, whack for the Eagles down at 14th. No, I like it, Seb.
Yeah.
If
I'm
we had to,
rethinking my Adelaide slot at 13 right now because that doesn't feel right based on what we've just said.
True. I mean, I know with my ladder, I mean, if you asked me yesterday or the day before, it was probably different to this. I've been chopping and changing as you do, but we're going live or live-ish in recording, so you've got to put it down. So hit me with your middle 6, Seb. What have you got?
12th, I've got the Saints. 11th, the Giants. 10th, the Tigers. 9th, the Power. 8th, Carlton. 7th, Freo.
Jeez, I thought you'd find a way to get your boys in there somehow. Look, I don't
tried
mind
to get
that.
in top 4, I won't lie.
Look, it's tough. This middle rung's probably as tricky as it gets because, I mean, any of these teams could be in any order in this middle rung. Look, I've gone Carlton 12th, Freo 11th, Essendon 10th, Sydney 9th, Saints 8th. Yes, might have had a hat on, but I'm sticking with it. Saints to make the 8. And I've got Richmond 7th.
Yep, I think that's fair. Top 6 sort of picks itself. I've got Sydney 6th, Brisbane 5th, Essendon 4th.
Ooh,
top
there's
4
one
for the Bombers.
There is one.
Cats 3rd, D's 2nd, Dogs to finish on top for the minor premiership.
Yeah, there you go. Look, I'm with you when I get to my top. I've gone Port Adelaide 6th, Geelong 5th. I'm bullish on the Giants. I think they're a top 4 chance this year. I've got them 4th, Melbourne 3rd, Brisbane Lions 2nd, and I'm with you, Doggies on top. I guess in considering this, Seb, I was looking, there is a team that usually comes from the bottom half of the ladder into the 8, and there's also always usually a new team in the top 4. So I've gone Giants, you've gone Bombers. I think we've followed the usual patterns pretty correctly, but we'll put these out on the socials, and as always, we'll put our necks out with it. So we would like the fan base out there to hold us accountable here. If you don't like something, send it in. If you want to barb us in June about how we were wrong about the Bombers or Richmond or the Cats, we'll do that too. Just comment, like, share. We're up for the debate. So we'll put these on the socials.
We need the feedback because otherwise we get carried away and we'd be giving you a prediction of a North Saints grand final. Like we would. We would do it.
No, that would happen.
We need people to keep us honest and objective as well. I freely admit I have a bias against the Bombers, but I've got them top 4. So, there's got to be some belief there, doesn't there?
Yeah, I think there'll be numerous Bombers fans that that'll be shocked that you've given that. And
You
I
know,
put them 10th, so I'm going to cop it myself. So
you
you might
know,
have to give me some tips on handling them.
well, they're going to tell me the only reason I've put them in the top 4 is so I can make fun of them if they don't finish there. So I've got a win-win, but
it's your ladder.
That's the cynic. It is my ladder. Feel free to do your own ladder and give it a go. It's a fun exercise. We'll give our predictions for the end of year finishes. Grand finalists, grand final matchup in a Premier, Tom.
Yeah, look, I'm bullish on him, and I'm not sure if it'll hold up, but I've got to put my neck out. I'm going to go a Lions Dogs granny, and I think the Lions get the job done.
That is interesting.
I'm keen on him. I think,
and you're tipping them for the flag.
Yep, I've gone out on a limb. It's not always who you think. These fans, yep, have at me, but I'm just querying the motivation levels and I guess that ability to back it up after a fairly large celebration. Dogs will be there, don't worry about that. But I just think the Lions have that next level in them. And look, probably playing the Dogs and a Granny's not a frightening matchup given the rivalry we've seen with them develop. So, yep, I'm going to stick with the Lions, Seb, and put my money on them.
I'm fascinated with that. The Lions, I can draw parallels with the Lions in my prediction. Although not having the Lions in there, you have to go back to 2002, 2003 for what I'm tipping, because I'm tipping the D's to beat the Dogs again in a grand final. So obviously
back-to-back victors, same matchup,
same losers. So you got to go back to Collingwood, Brisbane in 2002, 2003, the last time that happened. It probably seems a little bit unlikely as I say that out loud, but the D's, I think they know. I think they had enough pain as a football club, as a family, as a playing list to know they don't want to go back down and they're going to be fired up and make a run at it. I think the Dogs, they've got a lot of the right ingredients. They're going to put it all together, but they're missing a Tom Boyd style player who can take control for a period as a forward. And Aaron Norton can do it. But against a team like the Demons, you need sort of 2 or 3 who can sort of threaten, whereas they honed in on him and he obviously didn't have the best grand final. So the D's over the Dogs for me and look, we're talking end of September predictions. Yeah, so if we get these right, we probably should have had a little tenner on them. But
yeah, absolutely.
A little bit of fun. Brownlow medalist?
No, sticking with the Dogs, giving them plenty of airtime. I like the Bont, Seb. I mean, he runner-up last year, and I mean, there's nothing this pre-season or anything we've seen recently that say he won't be up there again. And I think they'll win plenty of games. He's found a way to turn himself into a goal-kicking midfielder. So they just grab the umpire's eye. I think that you'll find the Bont will win it. And yeah, maybe these days, I guess you win it with 30-plus votes. So he'll have a hell of a season if he does, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. So my smoky for the Brownlows, Paddy Cripps, just based on that one pre-season game.
Yeah,
I'm tipping Nat Fyfe to win his third because I'm just a fan of Freo in general. I tipped him last year. He's injured. He's going back to the middle full time. He polls more votes a game than Gary Ablett, so I know he's going to poll. I think they'll win enough games for him to be able to get that 33 sort of votes, and he's my tip.
Geez, he'd be in some rare air if he gets there. We've seen plenty of doubles, but not a triple for a long, long time. So that'll put him in some rare air, and I'd like to see that. So I don't mind that one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a what's the word? Finding a needle in a haystack at this time of the year, Tom. But
absolutely,
you got to go with something. Coleman medalist, Jeremy Cameron for me.
Look, you've jumped in there. I was going to say the exact same. I think you knew that was coming, but yeah, look, I mean, full pre-season into the big fella. He already, before he came to the Cats, proved that he was a Coleman medal quality forward. He just needed a fair run with injuries. So if he gets that, yep, he'll kick his 70, maybe even 80, and win that medal.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to him is the Hawk might mark it 48 out, but if Jez is on the lead and he marks it 42 out, the Hawk's happy to kick it to him. He's happy to give them off an assist and do that sort of stuff. So despite the fact there's 2 of them there, I think as long as Jez is healthy, he'll kick enough to be right there. And Buddy will kick enough goals per game to potentially lead the league, but Sydney will manage him. He'll only play 15, 16 games, so he probably will struggle to win the Coleman from there. And I guess the last major award, I don't know if we need to give a prediction. I think, has it been given out yet? The Rising Star, the Norwich Rising Star?
I'm glad the mention of Norwich got a run there, but look, for the fans out there, we obviously know Seb is extremely excited about the Hornet. It's just Christmas on Sunday to see him run out in his first game. Look, I'll throw Josh Dacos up at you as a contender. We have spoken off air about, whether the Hornet plays forward, does that impact his numbers? We know that Dacos will probably run around tag free for most of the year. Does he average 20 to 25? That kind of thing wins a Rising Star. But I mean, if the Hornet can have a 25 plus goal season, that also wins a Rising Star. So it's going to be a hell of a battle, but I think it is a two-horse race, maybe even one, if you've got one eye as a Roos fan.
So your official prediction is?
Oh, no, sorry, is Josh Dacos.
All right, so
I think he'll get the job done.
That's all right. You got it wrong. The Hornet, Jason Horne-Francis,
yep.
will win this award. He might win this and then the Brownlow next year. Is that good, Tom?
You're talking some big awards for a bloke that hasn't kicked it in an AFL game as yet, but look, I'm looking forward to his season.
Use that next week?
Yeah, no, I won't. Are we going to have Hornet watch every week, or
I'm actually thinking of starting a separate podcast.
To talk about his game.
Watch, just to talk about what he does. Not just on the field where he goes to have lunch. What sort of car he drives. We just talk the Hornet for an hour.
If you would build a following, because I'm avoiding the Roos game on Sunday just because I can imagine the chatter in the stands. I mean, if he kicks one from 50 off a step,
I may well
look
just
out.
Go live on Instagram, so you can't miss it. I'm that excited. So there are our predictions. Tell us what we got right and wrong. We love it. We're just humble footy fans. Sit on the same side of the fence as all of you. And we do our best to take a stab in the dark. So, predictions done. Is there a mailbag, Tom? I didn't. I save for next week. But I didn't see anything else come in. But you mentioned you might have one.
No, look, I got a sneaky one hot off the press here, and from what I can tell, it's in response to some comments made at a particular football club that you've said. So I'm interested in this one from you, Seb.
Oh, so this is coming straight for me, my way.
They
line me up and they come through you to avoid a whack back, do they?
I don't know. As we say, you send them in and we will read them out. But I'll go with this one. This one's from Three-Pete Hawker, and it's on a topic that we just discovered. But Three-Pete Hawker is asking, when does North Melbourne lose the Hornet? Zeb can talk him up all he wants. He will go to a top-tier club once he wants to play finals, which the Roos aren't. When do you think he will leave the Kangaroos Football Club?
Well, this is an outlandish sort of statement. Firstly, this Three-Pete Hawker is clearly not the optimistic Roos fan who thinks we might play finals this year, because he said we're not playing finals for a while. Look, I'm not concerned about the culture down at the club. We've had a couple of lean years. We've got some high picks, but I'm not concerned about him leaving anytime soon. You got to wait 8 years before you get your restricted free agency, and you'd match any bid, given he might have won 2 Brownlows by that point of his career. Look, you could worry about this sort of thing, and he's going to leave. We have a few more down years. You got to back your club and your system in, and if you go back, I'll try and keep this succinct, because obviously this is not just like footy is a passion of mine, talking footy is a passion of mine, but North Melbourne is the passion. That's what got me into it. And back in the 90s, we were a poor as hell club, but no one ever left. They all bought in, and the top 10 or 12 players used to go to meetings and have to hand back their paycheck to the club because we had no money, and there was no issues doing that. If you look back through our history, like, who's left our club? Like, who and people have left, but who's blamed the culture as a reason? So Ben Brown might be one, but he was looking for 800,000, I think, and we said thanks, but no thanks, Ben. You can if you find yourself a suitor, off you go. It's worked out really well for him, but it could work out equally well for us because, like, what's he doing in our club this year? He's not doing much. He might kick goals, lead up to all this sort of stuff, but had a bit of a bung knee, and you know, it took him a while to get going in a premiership winning team or in a team that was top 4 all year. It took him a while to get going. Imagine playing for a poor team with limited inside 50 entries. Like, you know, it wouldn't have gone that well. And who else is left? Like, Higgins wanted out. We swindled the Cats in that deal.
That's probably fair, actually. That's a good one. I forgot about Higgins.
Left, but he's on the back 3. If you're looking for a golf analogy, Bruce went for opportunity. Ryan Clark, no good. Sam Gibson, just an honest try. Aaron Black, we swindled the Cats and still only got picked 92.
It's another swindling of the Cats there. They've got to stop doing that.
Like, what are you going to talk? Like Dan Curry up to the Gold Coast for pick 53 in 2015. Probably not too concerned about it. So I'm not concerned about the Hornet leaving.
Yeah, that's a fair list of players there. I mean, yeah, you're not talking the cream of the crop.
Levi Greenwood's probably the other one, Tom. Sorry.
Actually.
He
that's
finished top 3 in the BNF. We didn't have a new deal there. It was sort of like we assumed he wasn't. Not he wasn't good, but, you know, top 3 finish suggests you might get a bigger deal, and he went and tested the market, got more years at Collingwood, and battled with concussion, sadly, after that, and that was it. So, you know, I certainly don't think there's a culture issue down there. Can I throw one back to 3 Pete Hawker?
Yeah, look, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer it. We might even have to look at getting him on. I know we've got a few.
More than welcome. I don't know who he is, hiding behind a name, but that's fine. Like, look at Hawthorn. You've had who's walked out the door at Hawthorn, Tom? We'll throw some names up like Hodge and Mitchell.
Well, yeah, Mitchell,
Birchall,
Lewis.
They were all orchestrated on the back end of their careers, so that's fine. But, like, the talent that's walked out of that club or gone to that club, like Scully retired, Patton gone. There's another one just escapes my mind. Like, is there going to be a problem at the Hawks?
Yeah, look, it could be. I mean, we're at a stage. I know I'm probably switching and talking your boys up, but I mean, it's beautiful with this game on Sunday to see the talent out there. I mean, do you have players that you want to grab from the Hawks? I mean, where are the Mitchells, O'Mearas, Warples, Wards at? Are they talent that actual other teams will go after? I mean, it's a fair question. It's probably one, that we haven't seen posed at the Roos for a while, but it does tie back to that culture, Seb. So, when you've had that success like the Hawks, and then you've come down the other side, I mean, it can really get ugly quick. And one thing you don't want to see is teams getting stuck down there. So I think you'll do everything in your absolute power to keep the Hornet. We always hear about those bloody treasure chests that you have for a Dusty or a Degoe, but I think you might be investing them in your youth, and that's probably the smart way to operate as a club. So, look, for the Hawks, though, I guess, at this stage, we're just wondering how they cope in the post-Clarkson era. You've mentioned some names walking there, but look, it's going to be a hell of a game on Sunday. That's all I can wait for. I mean, that's the proof.
The team's going to win too many this year, and it's a good chance to get one on the board in the early part of the year, Tom.
I can't wait. Well, the challenge has been accepted. We might have a brewing rivalry here. Keep the mailbags coming. As you've seen, the difficult questions, the ones that are uncomfortable, someone potting the Hornet, that's just a bit of a no-go for Seb at this point of the season.
Well, as you say, he hasn't had a kick in the AFL and he's being potted, so which way do you want to do it?
Yeah, true. Look, I'm just not going to touch the Hornet because I might get stung from you, to use a shocking dad joke. Got to get informed on those. Keep the mailbags coming because we do like it.
It's been a pleasure. Good luck to your team this week, and it's great to have Footy back.
Absolutely. We'll see you on Instagram Live.